At 2:48 in the morning on May 24th, 1941, a British naval officer spotted something through his binoculars that made his blood run cold. A massive battleship, larger than anything the Royal Navy had, was cutting through the Denmark Strait like a knife through water. The Bismarck had arrived, and in 6 minutes it would blow Britain's most beloved warship to pieces. The Bismarck wasn't just a ship. It was 50,000 tons of Nazi engineering designed to do one thing: strangle Britain by destroying every convoy crossing the Atlantic. If it succeeded, Britain would starve. The war would be over. Everything depended on stopping this monster. But first, they had to find it in 3 million square miles of ocean. The story of the Bismarck really begins with Adolf Hitler's obsession with building the ultimate battleship. In 1936, he ordered the construction of a warship that would make every other navy obsolete. The result was a beast that stretched 800 feet long, about 2.5 football fields. Its armor was 13 inches thick. Its 8 15-inch guns could punch through any ship afloat from 22 miles away. When the Bismarck launched in 1939, Hitler's propaganda minister called it the pride of Germany. The ship had everything: its own bakery, a dental office, air conditioning, even a movie theater. The crew of 2,200 men thought they were boarding an invincible fortress. They had no idea they would all be dead within a year. Captain Ernst Lindemann knew the truth that Hitler's admirals wouldn't admit. The Bismarck had one fatal flaw. It was alone. The German Navy only had a handful of major ships, while Britain had dozens. If the Bismarck was ever cornered, it would face the entire Royal Navy by itself. Lindemann told his officers privately, "We will either return as heroes or not at all." On May 18, 1941, the Bismarck left port for its first and only mission: Operation Rhine Exercise. The goal was to break into the Atlantic and destroy merchant convoys. The ship was accompanied by the heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen, but everyone knew the Bismarck would do the real killing. British spies in Norway spotted the German ships almost immediately. The message that reached Prime Minister Winston Churchill was simple and terrifying: Bismarck is out. Churchill reportedly went pale. He knew that if the Bismarck reached the convoy lanes, it could sink 50 merchant ships before anyone could stop it. Britain was already barely surviving on rationed food. This could be the final blow. The Royal Navy scrambled everything that could float: the aircraft carrier Victorious, the battleships King George V and Prince of Wales, the battlecruiser Hood, and dozens of cruisers and destroyers all converged on the Denmark Strait. It was the largest naval hunt in history. The Hood was Britain's favorite ship, called the Mighty Hood by newspapers. For 20 years, it had been the largest warship in the world. When British admirals sent it after the Bismarck, the public relaxed. Surely the Hood would save them. They didn't know the Hood had a fatal weakness: its deck armor was too thin. On May 24th, at 5:52 in the morning, the Hood and the brand-new battleship Prince of Wales spotted the Bismarck. The British opened fire first. Their shells splashed around the German ship, close but not hitting. Then the Bismarck responded. The German gunnery was perfect. The third salvo from the Bismarck found its mark. A 15-inch shell punched through the Hood's thin deck armor and detonated in its ammunition magazine. What happened next shocked everyone who saw it. The Hood didn't just sink. It exploded. A column of flame shot 1,000 feet into the air. The ship literally broke in half. In less than 3 minutes, the mighty Hood was gone. Of the 1,418 men aboard, only 3 survived. The rest went down with the ship, too quickly to even abandon ship. The Prince of Wales, damaged and outgunned, fled. The Bismarck had won its first battle in 6 minutes. The German crew celebrated, but Captain Lindemann remained grim. He knew the entire Royal Navy would now come for revenge. The Hood's destruction had made this personal. But the Bismarck hadn't escaped unharmed. 3 shells from the Prince of Wales had hit, and 1 had ruptured a fuel tank. The ship was leaving an oil trail across the ocean like blood from a wounded animal. Lindemann wanted to return to port for repairs. Admiral Günther Lütjens overruled him. They would continue to the Atlantic. This decision doomed them all. For 2 days, British cruisers shadowed the Bismarck using radar, staying just out of gun range. Then, on May 24th, something incredible happened. The Bismarck suddenly turned and charged straight at its pursuers. The British ships scattered, thinking they were under attack. But it was a trick. In the confusion, the Bismarck disappeared into a weather front and vanished. For 31 hours, the Royal Navy lost the most dangerous ship in the world. Panic spread through the Admiralty. The Bismarck could be anywhere. It could already be among the convoys, sinking merchant ships. Churchill demanded hourly updates. The tension was unbearable. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A British radio operator noticed that the Bismarck was transmitting long radio messages. The Germans didn't know that British direction-finding equipment could track these signals. When Admiral Lütjens sent a 30-minute radio message to Berlin, he basically put up a giant sign saying, "Here we are." The British realized the Bismarck was heading for France, probably the port of Brest. But they had a problem. Most of their ships were running low on fuel from the long chase. Only 1 ship was in position to attack: the aircraft carrier Ark Royal. The problem? Its aircraft were obsolete biplanes called Swordfish that looked like they belonged in World War I, not 1941. On May 26th, 15 Swordfish took off in terrible weather to attack the Bismarck. These fabric-covered planes flew at just 90 miles per hour. The Bismarck's anti-aircraft guns were designed for fast, modern aircraft. The slow Swordfish were actually too slow for the German gunners to track properly. 14 torpedoes missed, but the 15th torpedo changed everything. It hit the Bismarck's stern, jamming its rudder hard to port. Suddenly, the mighty battleship could only steam in circles. It was like a wounded bear, still dangerous, but unable to escape. Captain Lindemann knew they were finished. He told his crew, "We will fight to the last shell, but we cannot win. Save yourselves when the time comes." Through the night, British destroyers harassed the crippled giant with torpedo attacks, keeping the exhausted German crew at battle stations. On the morning of May 27th, the British battleships King George V and Rodney arrived. What followed wasn't a battle. It was an execution. Starting at 8:47, the British ships pounded the Bismarck from just 4 miles away. The German ship's fire control system was destroyed in the first minutes. Its guns could no longer aim properly. By 9:30, the Bismarck was a burning wreck. All 4 gun turrets were destroyed. The superstructure was twisted metal. Hundreds of men were dead or dying, but the ship wouldn't sink. German engineering had built it too well. Its armor belt kept it afloat, even as everything above the waterline was destroyed. The British fired over 2,800 shells. The Bismarck absorbed punishment that would have sunk any other ship 3 times over. Finally, the crew opened the seacocks, flooding the ship from within. At 10:39, the Bismarck rolled over and sank. Of the 2,200 men aboard, only 114 survived. Captain Lindemann chose to go down with his ship. Survivors reported seeing him standing at attention on the bridge as the water rushed in, saluting as his ship died. Admiral Lütjens also perished, his body never found. The Bismarck had lasted exactly 8 days at sea. It had destroyed the Hood in 6 minutes, but couldn't survive against the combined might of an entire navy. Its death marked the end of the era of battleships. Never again would anyone build such massive surface warships. The future belonged to aircraft carriers and submarines. The wreck of the Bismarck was discovered in 1989 by Robert Ballard, the same explorer who found the Titanic. It lies 3 miles down, its hull still largely intact. The guns still point skyward, frozen in their last battle. The Bismarck's story is one of incredible engineering, fatal pride, and the futility of fighting alone against overwhelming odds. It was the most feared ship in the world for 8 days. Then it was gone, taking 2,000 men to the bottom of the Atlantic. Its only victory was also the beginning of its end. The moment it sank the Hood, its fate was sealed. The lesson was clear. No single weapon, no matter how powerful, can win a war alone. The Bismarck was magnificent, but it was also alone. And in war, being alone is the one weakness that no amount of armor can protect against.